House to Home, presented by Remax Diamond Realty.
Gina is the most decorative of us, going with the polka dots, and hopefully Guam's real estate market is not as, shall we say, plain clothes. Is that the easy way? Because the ladies always, we've been talking a lot on this show overall about strategy in various industries, like business strategy, government strategy. How do you, within the microcosm of Guam's real estate industry, kind of like strategize about where you think the market is going, and then how you react to that, and how far out do you have to make those decisions?
Well, I can talk about how, like my listings, the homes I have currently on the market for sale. So I would monitor what prices homes are going for. And if my listing would sit for a while, then I would periodically evaluate, okay, if I'm pricing it, let's say at 600,000, are homes selling in that price range, or has the prices dropped? And what area is that sweet spot to sell? So I've been kind of monitoring that. So I would give my sellers advice that let's monitor for another 30 days and then see where it goes. And if nothing happens, let's do an adjustment. I think the critical point right now is the interest rates are so high that it increases the monthly payments for buyers. I know one of our agents recently, Gina, maybe you can confirm this, got a 4% adjustable rate fix for 10 years. Was that accurate?
Yeah. And I'm glad to just say it and put it out there. Community First is offering a 10-year adjustable rate mortgage. It's fixed at 4% for the 10 years, and then after that it adjusts. And I can attest to that because one of my customers also closed, a couple of customers closed with that portfolio.
And that too is a way that the lending institutions are now strategizing to try and stimulate, activity in the market by making those adjustments to their rates.
Exactly. And what that does, it gives a buyer time to get into a home, pay a lower monthly rental, and then refinance when the market gets better and when the interest rates drop. But then going back to pricing, especially at this point, that may help some. But if your price point is much higher and it still gives you a higher monthly mortgage payment, then the question for a seller is, okay, what do we need to do? Do we adjust? Do we make a reduction in the price? And what I've been seeing is I reduce the price, I get more showings, and then eventually the property gets sold. So a number of my properties were sold because we did an adjustment to the price and did a reduction.
But do you wind up taking a loss is of course what most business professors would say.
It's not a loss. It's just an adjustment. It's a question of the seller's intention of selling. What is their goal? And Gina and my role is to help the client fulfill that goal. And if the intent is to sell, either to relocate or to pay off a mortgage or to handle a personal affair, we always ask the question, what is your goal? And how quick do you need to sell so that we can fulfill that goal? So we're always concerned about our role to help the client or the customer.
Now, Gina, let me pose a question to you, because Liz, of course, was talking about multiple properties, and we've talked for the last couple of weeks on the show about, being able to manage your portfolio of the various properties you have, within your stable, right? So when you adjust prices, do you do that across the board and everything comes down? Or do you say, I've got a certain house in a certain part of the island, like in Santa Rita, I'm going to lower that by a little bit, and then maybe the cheaper ones, I'll maintain their price? Or, do you have to kind of like do the balance beam? So Miss Polka Dot, what do you say about that?
Polka Dot is lucky, right? It's lucky.
Is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you draw upon luck, or like just random chance, or do you actually have
no? Real estate is not left to chance. This is about facts and figures.
That's a good tip.
And so you're asking about, when we do our price adjustments, do we do it across the board? It doesn't work like that, because we're not in we're in a people business, right? So every individual has different requirements, different needs. And you know, I have to say, there might be owners out there at some point in you know, during this year, the decision's going to be, do I let it go and take a loss? Is it cheaper for me to let it go right now, especially depending on when you bought? I mean, the market was it was a seller's market for quite a while. So people were paying a premium for real estate. And it might come down to that. It might come down to the fact that, you know, the market is now, you know, the market is doing an adjustment, and you might end up having to decide, is it better for me to just take a little bit of a loss and let it go? Or if you're already coming to the conclusion that you have to leave island or relocate in some way, and you're making those mortgage payments, you might have to let go and take a little bit of a loss. But fortunately, we haven't come across that yet. Right now, it's just a matter of, you're not going to make as much as we would have liked to have you make. The market's adjusted itself. And so instead of making this amount, you're going to be making this amount, but it's still, you know, real estate has always been a great investment. You're still making money, but you're not making as much as we would have liked. All of us, we would have liked to have you make more, but it's just not possible in the atmosphere we're in now.
Okay, so here's the next question, right? So for someone who is in real estate but may not have as much experience as the two of you, you know, collectively you've got over a half century of professional real estate experience in the office and in the field between you, right? For someone with like a little bit less experience, how do they know what adjustments are the optimal ones to make? Like, because some people can say, okay, I don't know if I'm overshooting, I don't know if I'm making too little adjustments, you know, I don't want to make a big mistake. Is that just with experience, or is there some kind of guide?
I think it has to do with experience, but as Gina put it, facts and figures. Each of us as realtors, our responsibility is to check the database, check our MLS, and we guide ourselves. You know, when they ask us, well, what do you think? I said, well, I can't pull stuff out of the air. Let me base my assessment on facts and figures. And then even if the facts and figures are limited, then what I would do is reach out to other brokers and agents that have been in the business a long time to get their feedback. Or I would reach out to an appraiser and I would say, hey, is there anything in the market that has sold that we're not aware of that could factor in my assessment? So we always look to facts and figures. We don't pull stuff out of the air at all. You
don't just roll dice and whatever number comes up, that's what I'm going to go with. You make an informed decision.
You know, Jace, I like to show. So for instance, if you're already working on a piece of property, I'd like to first, I want to eliminate any possible issues. So, I mean, I tell my people, I can't do Zoom on valuation. I've got to go to the property, you know, and I'm doing you a disservice.
You kick the tires, right?
Yeah. And, you know, I want to go and look at the property. And, you know, I do have people say, oh, no, let me just describe it to you, or let me send you pictures. I want to go and look at it myself so that I could really provide the service that I'm supposed to be providing. That's one thing. But after that, I want to eliminate, if I see any potential issues, I want to eliminate all that. Because, you know, when you're looking to sell your property, the buyers are going to be looking at it with their eyes. They're going to be critiquing everything there is. So, you know, in this atmosphere, you want to get rid of all the issues that could possibly come up or all the flaws. You want to take care of them. If it needs a paint job, my goodness, let's, you know, even if it means you do it yourself, you know, water blast paint, get it ready. But then when it comes to pricing, this really is, we have a database now, multiple listing services. I look in there every day because I've got a couple of properties that I'm hoping to put on the market. So I look every day and I'm in touch with what's happening, what is selling, but more importantly too, I want to see what's selling, but I want to see what the competition is going to be. So that when my client puts their house into the market, they're not here. You don't want to lose them money either by underpricing it. You want, Liz said, you want to be at that sweet spot. What is that sweet spot that's going to have the buyers be interested, have the buyers call you, have them come and look?
The other factor, Jason. So not all properties are created equal. Even as Gina puts it, even when we look in the database and it'll say a certain property is going for 60,000 that sold, for example. And then when we inspect the property, there's no power, there's no water. It's quite a distance from anything. That has another bearing that may not, if an agent went in and just went across the board without doing their proper inspection, they could price it incorrectly if they didn't look at the property. And if the infrastructure is not in place, then that does affect the value and it drops considerably because any buyer will have to take into account bringing in the infrastructure, and it may be 15, 20 years before any of that comes into play.
And you know, the best chefs, and like Liz, you know this because your son is a master chef himself, the best chefs in the world very often want to go out to the farmer's market and they want to have a feel of the tomatoes. They want to hold, you know, the vegetables up to their nose, and you know, they have that instinct that experience has brought.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
real estate's a huge investment. So please get out there with your realtor, walk around the property, inspect the home, ask all the right questions.
Okay, final question, and I'm going to ask you two for some practical examples, right? You were saying that, you know, when it comes time to like hopefully find that sweet spot when you're going through pricing, right? You take a look at the rest of the market, you know, your contemporaries, other brokerages, other agencies, and find out, you know, what other realtors are doing. Has there ever been a situation over the years where the two of you have had to be the first agent on Guam to basically like set the market, and you know, there are no, like, no one else budged and everything like that? And so Liz, you're shaking your head. What did you do in that situation when you were the one who basically had to be, you know, the pole position car?
We've had situations where the appraisers would come to us and say, how did you sell that house, right, Gina? They would say, well, how did you market that property? And if you do your proper research and you put everything together, even the appraisers are calling us to ask us, what were the factors with this particular sale? So we're all collaborating with information, but we do our research, and not only that, Gina does this as well. We trust our gut feeling. When we're inspecting a property, we can tell the location, and if we feel that this could even go above market because of its location, its zoning, and all the different factors, then we could price it above the market because we know it will be in demand. So there's a number of other factors that come into play besides facts and figures, right, Gina?
Yeah, that's really important. And honestly, I mean, not to say that if you were a newer real estate professional that you wouldn't have that same gut instinct. You could very well, but part of this is our ability to be able to look at the property and based on our gut, we know if it's going to, you know, if we can price it a little bit above the market, or if we can look at it and say, you know what, based on our gut and what we've seen the market do with these types of properties, it might have to be a little bit below the market. But
So
but
it is
the
kind of-
one
it is
thing
a
you can
delicate
count on, yeah,
It is
it's a
delicate
real
balance of-
balancing act. Yeah.
of your intuition plus the evidence and the data that is accrued over time.
Yeah,
That
but the
comes-
one thing you can count on is we're going to be honest with you.
There you go. And I got to be honest that what you two are wearing right today is absolutely lovely. Liz, you look fantastic. Gina, I feel luckier now that you're wearing polka dots. So everybody go, you know,
Nice.
again, don't be like Gina and Liz just said, ladies and gentlemen, don't be random, you know, like do your homework. Maybe you want to bring your polka dots, maybe you want to bring your 4-leaf clover, your lucky rabbit's foot. And you know,
What you need to do.
there you go. All right, ladies, thank you as always. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Jace.
Bye-bye.
House to Home, presented by Remax Diamond Realty.